So, Maddie.
So,
any fun? You know what? Fuck that. We can talk about that after the intro. What were you picturing the boat? Like, were you thinking this is going to be like a smelly, like? Because I swear to God, everyone is like, is it cold and damp? Like,
no. I love boats. Big fun fact about me. I was expecting the RV next door, the RV on water.
I knew it.
Actually,
the trashy cruiser.
Yeah, are you calling
never.
that trashy? That's what
that
you
shit
should
looks like it
aspire
rules.
to. Yeah, come on.
Okay,
That's like Reno, basically, but a boat in boat form.
It's it's a Winnebago
Spacious.
on water. It's more
Exactly,
space.
thank you.
It's less. We are ensconced in oiled teak right now. Okay,
We are. There's
Also-
some good ambiance.
Yeah, and Greg, your neighbors have ears and feelings.
Yeah, so there you go. You know, that working class energy on water is what I would describe that as.
Yeah. Okay. Also, people always. Okay. The question I always get is it cold and damp and by yourself? As if like it's impossible to imagine that I could convince a woman to live with me on this boat.
Have you so far?
No.
Okay, well.
Like seriously, it's those two questions every fucking time, and I'm just over it.
Okay, well.
Oh, thanks, Greg. Glad we can help you with that.
Yeah,
We're off to a great start.
This is
Greg has
Cut
done
that
it
part.
again.
Cut that part.
All the commenters on iTunes very happy.
Oh yeah. Welcome back to Seattle Sucks, a podcast about hating the city we love. I believe it's me, Colin. I'm here with Captain Brian
Hello, Colin.
and former Captain Greg.
I live on this boat. The title isn't my name.
Well, there was mutiny last episode,
Yeah.
and you lost the captainship.
Possession is 9/10 of the law.
Yeah.
I possess the captain title.
Obviously. I was here when you showed up.
Yeah. The captain gets to leave to go to shore. They leave the chump deckhands to stay on the boat.
Okay, yeah.
But we also have another captain, and you are the captain of Seattle DSA. You just told me, which is awesome.
Said you were very much higher ranking than everybody else.
Yeah.
More important.
Yes.
Yeah,
And that
those
they're-
were
The goat. You said you were the goat.
all of those words were definitely
Yeah.
said.
You had a chart that said hierarchy on it, and you were a picture of you was at the top.
Yeah.
And it just said everyone else below.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the VIP, most important person
Yeah.
of the entire DSA. I'm the president of the DSA, actually, in Seattle.
It's weird. Bernie was below you
He
on the
was.
hierarchy. I noticed on the
Yes.
chart as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, so I'm gonna call you Maslow's Maddie. Just kidding. Okay, that didn't work. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Father Queerist on Twitter, or Gay for Housing Abolishing ICE. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi,
Good to be
Maddie.
here. Thank you for
How you
having
doing?
me, former Captain Greg over here.
Yep.
This
Just to
joke
let
is
you
old
know,
now.
Greg, being a captain's a state of mind. So just think about that for a little bit. So
It's only funny because he takes it so personal.
he takes it really well.
He says it's old now, but he gets just as upset every time.
He's
This
exasperated.
is all I have, okay? This podcast and this boat is all I have going for me, okay? And on this podcast, you're taking this boat away from me. And, like, I just don't. I'm just over it.
Ultimate betrayal.
Yeah, it really
We're off
is.
to a great start.
We're taping this live.
We're taping this
We're doing it
in
live.
front of a live studio. Selena. Hi, Selena. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Selena's won a contest. She found the prize in the cereal.
Oh, wait. No, actually.
And now she's on the boat.
Maddie and Selena did win
We
a contest.
did.
You're right.
They did. They
Yeah.
were the winning bidders at the Kids Out of Cages event
Yep.
a few weeks ago when we raised money for
Races for basically immigrant legal
Immigrant
defense.
Legal Defense. Shout out Bryn Roth who put that on, and they won. They bid and won on the Seattle Sucks cruise, so they're going to be the guests of honor on the Seattle Sucks cruise, along with some previous Seattle Sucks guests.
I don't care about the guests, but I was promised guacamole. So
There will be guac.
Okay.
There will be one
There will be
flavor
guac.
of guac.
Now
One flavor.
that you're
Okay.
on the boat,
Okay.
though, any
Okay.
buyer's remorse?
no, I feel good about it.
All right, good.
I feel good about it. Good cause. Good cause.
Maddie tells me.
I'm going to call up the organization, demand the funds back. Actually,
You give me that right now.
Maddie told me that she knows how to sail.
Whoa, that's
and so,
Makes
while
one person on
I'm
the
mixing
boat.
drinks, she will be skippering this boat.
Oh.
That is the privilege you get when you.
Is that what you want to do, though?
you get to.
It's the Seattle Sucks cruise where you get to work for fun.
Awesome.
yeah.
Cool.
It's gonna be a good time.
We're really excited. There's been some good RSVPs. It's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah. We'll see if it gets out of the marina.
Joking aside, I am very fun. Very excited. Not fun.
You
I'm
are
actually
very
not
fun.
fun.
You're
I am
so
very
fun.
excited. It's fine.
Yeah. I don't want to say anything about those RSVPs, but I think one Roy Moore's son might be showing up. Mr. Mackle. You might be coming. I don't know.
Okay, cut that. That's awful.
I told you we'd be rusty. You didn't believe me.
yeah, this actually
Did
does
not
suck.
believe me.
We are so for your listening pleasure. We are.
Yeah, if you're wondering what happened to our brains,
or if you're wondering when we get into this, how we're. Oh, I was just gonna say how we're talking about such relevant and current and timely issues, but we're about to not do that, and yet. Our new plan is to actually get these episodes out like within a matter of days. I'm not fucking promising anything. Don't hold me to this. To get these out within a matter of days.
This.
I'm just saying that's why we're so rusty. We took a. We
he's,
kind of. It's
he's
been 2
making
weeks.
a me mistake here.
Okay. Yeah. So, all right. So, speaking of relevant and timely issues, how was that convention?
Exactly.
Speaking of very relevant, very timely, that convention that was about a month ago exactly. It was really good. I think in retrospect, having some time, some space to process everything, especially, it was really, really energizing for myself. I think for the entire organization. Lots of highlights. Just seeing a lot of people from Seattle being able to interact with people from across the country, whether it was other members, people there that were there to kind of speak or engage as like elected members of the DSA that serve in public office. It was just a really good opportunity that, only comes up twice or once every 2 years. So it was awesome. And Atlanta was wonderful. Atlanta, I'm sorry, Seattle is 10,000 times better than Seattle.
And still has a basketball team.
Yes. Hey.
So there you go. Do you think, in retrospect, that the DSA voting down the Jeffrey Epstein Protection Committee was a bad idea?
Yes, actually. I think that we've already seen the ramifications of that. And that was devastating, absolutely devastating. And I'm hoping that we revisit that post haste.
That's why we have to fight reformism in our organization.
Yes, there's too many accelerationists. So get out of here.
So, you have any good stories from the convention?
There were a lot, whether it was doing, what we were there to do, debate and pass good things to make our organization better.
Build Twitter followers.
Build Twitter followers, yes. That was honestly really amazing. One of the coolest parts was that we passed a lot of things by consent, meaning all of the delegates that were elected to go were sent this poll beforehand where we were surveyed about everything we were voting on, and if it reached a certain threshold, we didn't have to vote on it. It just passed by consent. And voting on open borders, that passed by consent. Decriminalization of sex work, a lot of really amazing things that passed by consent. Some not so serious things that were amazing, like a church organ karaoke party that would only happen in Atlanta. Seeing folks drunkenly sing Dolly Parton to a church organ was pretty fucking hilarious.
Was it 9 to 5?
It was 9 to 5.
Ooh, it's tough because the verse you forget is very fast on that.
It is
I've
very
fucked
fast.
it up in karaoke a lot because
Even
I can't talk.
to a church organ. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Seeing Shahid Buttar, who is primarying Nancy Pelosi
Fuck yeah.
at a live podcast show, was fucking hilarious. Just random stuff like that all weekend long. It's kind of weird because I'll see like massive groups of people like walking around Capitol Hill, and I'm like, oh, is that socialist? I'm like, oh no, you're not at the convention anymore.
Yeah. No, those are Proud Boys.
Yeah, those are Proud Boys. Where it's a weird bachelorette party. So yeah.
Are they heading to Pony? Then it's a bachelorette party.
Yes, exactly. But no, it was great. And everyone who put it on really worked really hard to pull it off, and I was very exhausted afterwards, but I think we all came out of it a stronger organization, challenges or not.
So, back in town now.
Back in town.
Other big news. There was a primary election.
What? When did that happen?
And
Ari
the
Hoffman
day after I
did
got
not
back?
win.
I
Yeah.
know because
Sorry, guys. Ari didn't make it. We've been mourning. Yeah, we've been mourning.
Obviously we've talked about it plenty already. Everybody came through, and Sean Scott blasted through the primary and is now on his way to November. I ran into you, Maddie, at the bar the other night for that was DSA, Seattle DSA's like campaign kickoff, right?
Yeah.
So I was knocking on some doors that afternoon, and then we were at the bar. So I guess I want to know, like, what are you, and what is DSA? How is DSA get involved in that campaign? And then tell us about Sean Scott and why you're out there.
Yeah, so it was actually really exciting, kind of going back to the convention a little bit and a little bit farther back. The Seattle DSA, we received a request from Sean Scott very early on in his campaign, like even maybe back in 2018, asking if we would endorse him. And we went through the process where a candidate fills out a questionnaire, and we have a local electoral group that basically signs off on it and recommends it to our chapter's general membership. And then we basically vote yes or no. And our endorsement process for Sean looked a little bit different, where not only were we asked to endorse him, but the proposal was to establish a coordinated campaign where we aren't just endorsing him, we're, getting out the vote. We are really committing some of our members, of course, if they choose to go out and volunteer for him, really, planning with the campaign, different canvases and things like that. And how that ties into the convention is that by the time the convention rolled around, he actually did receive the national organization's endorsement. So he received our local chapter's endorsement and then the national DSA's endorsement. And what was really cool about being in Atlanta is that we talked to so many people there who were really excited about Sean's campaign, that had heard about Sean. We talked to other socialist elected officials like Khalid Kamau, who I believe serves on the Fulton City Council, which is outside of Atlanta. He's another Black socialist that's very proud about that fact. So it was really cool to kind of hear from him how it's been serving openly as a socialist in Georgia. We talked to Carlos Ramirez Rosa, who is a socialist in Chicago. We talked to all sorts of members from different chapters, getting out the word. And so now kind of pivoting back to what we're doing right now, we're planning Wednesday canvases, so midweek canvases, get out the vote efforts where we're doorbelling, similar to what you were just referring to. We're tabling for Sean, and then we're deploying this network of other members, whether they're here locally or outside of the Seattle area, to phone bank for Sean. So we're really trying to kind of hit all of our bases because while Sean did, of course, make it out of the primary, it is an uphill battle. He's facing a lot of corporate PAC money, and we just want to make sure that we're going to secure another win in November to make sure that we're going to fight for the right to our city. And that's what the campaign's all about. So that party that you were at, it was basically a kickoff for the general election to generate buzz, get some more volunteers, get their information, and get a little bit more organized.
Cool. The question then is why, what are we excited about Sean Scott? We've had him on. I know, I think we know a little bit about why we're excited, but tell us.
Snappy dresser.
Yeah, true.
Those Toms, though.
Yeah,
Look, gotta roast him a little bit. No, I first of all, I just love Sean. He, before I ever even knew that he had aspirations to run for public office, he always kind of took me under his wing. He taught me a lot of important organizing lessons. Chief among them, never have an organizing conversation without getting an ask out of someone. And he's just such a smart person that really does walk the walk. Just to take a moment to recognize the fact that his younger sister Nikki did pass away this past week. One of the first things that he and I interacted about was the fact that I have a disability and that a lot of my family members have disabilities. And so he's just always very been open about the fact that a lot of this shit is material for him. He's a renter. Yeah. He was a caregiver for his, disabled sister. He's always been there, and he's like, whenever I needed to talk to someone, he's like, homie, I've got your back. And that's just the kind of guy he is. So outside of the fact that he has amazing policies and plans for this city to build collective power amongst workers, to get a Green New Deal that's enforceable in this city, and a plan to pay for a Green New Deal, he's also just a guy that's affected by these conditions materially, that has people's backs, and he's just a cool guy. Huge. Yeah.
I mean, that is, that's class power, a start of it anyway, having actually electing people who have had problems in their life. I mean,
yeah, and you can kind of tell that because he's like a very genuine guy too. Like the couple of times I've randomly met him at bars or whatever. By randomly, I mean going to events of his. But anyways, but yeah, a very genuine guy. Clearly has the ease of being with people that comes from actually one, organizing people, but also actually giving a shit about working class people in some way, as opposed to they're not a theoretical construct, right? Actual people with lives and feelings and stuff, right? And I mean, he seems to give a shit, right? And the big thing too is that the big lesson in Seattle, right, is on city council, people will say the progressive things or whatever, but when it comes down to it, you need to have that no vote for the police contract. And what we've learned is that we got one council member who will do that. It'd be great if we had two.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That is, I mean, that's what this, that's what we talk about all the time in the show is it's easy enough for people like Jenny Durkin and your average, standard, quote progressive Democrat, because just being a Democrat in Seattle makes you progressive, whatever your actual origins or opinions are. You're just I'm a liberal progressive.
I'm one of the good guys.
Yeah, we're good guys because this is Seattle.
I'm an Avenger.
But it doesn't stack up to shit, and that's what is refreshing about being able to just being able to vote for genuinely ideologically left candidates is exactly where they're coming from, what their take on the world is, and it's different from what you're getting, and I think that's obviously true of Sean.
Well, so Greg, you went door knocking. How'd the door knocking go?
Well, as is typical of that, this was the first time I've been out for Sean.
They said there's a lot less support after I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. No one's ever home, basically. That's door knocking. But so I only talked to 3 or 4 people. But, it's what you do. So hopefully I'll get out another couple of times at least before November. There's another candidate in the race.
There is.
He is, I think, the most important thing to understand about Alex Peterson is that he's not taking corporate money. Is that what I heard from him? So
That's what they'd like to have you know.
oh, okay, yeah, cool. That sounds cool. He sounds like a good guy then. So it's pretty much like a wash either way,
Yeah,
right?
the spin doctors are hard at work.
Yeah. I did see a banner on Amazon. I was on there just searching, maybe getting some shoes. You can get anything there. It's amazing. And I saw a little banner ad that said, Alex Peterson does not take corporate money. District 4 Seattle.
Paid for by Amazon.
Yeah. It was a word bubble coming out of Jeff Bezos' mouth.
Oh, that rules. No, okay. So obviously, I think probably lots of people who listen to this podcast, many among the many who listen to this podcast, know a lot about Sean Scott. We're gonna have him back on, again, to talk about all this cool stuff. Maybe you don't all know about Alex Peterson. Who
Your
is
Lord and Savior?
Alex Peterson?
Dun, dun.
And this really is a moment, if you're listening to this show,
Okay.
where you should
All
go.
right.
You should go look at his face. Honestly, because that's the only thing I know about Alex Peterson is he is the dictionary definition of just a blob white guy, like just
Yeah.
a boring, like pale.
Just a suit.
And, like,
a suit.
If
Yeah.
you've seen Rob Johnson, it's harder. It was really difficult to get like more bland and white looking. than Rob
No, you
Johnson.
can't tell them apart.
It was difficult, and then they're like, "Whoa, we found one! It's Alex Peterson."
Well, I feel like he basically came, in that like 1970s Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Like I think a plant just like puked him up, and he kind of like wiggled around on the floor for a while.
Yeah,
it just came out like that.
In the From the basement of the DNC.
Yeah.
yes, lanyard and all, lanyard and all.
Yes, he came out of the pod with a lanyard on. Exactly
Yes.
right.
Born with
this lanyard,
Raised with it. But this is key to understanding who this guy is, who he says he is, even his pitch is. His resume is basically fire sector, corporate work, and Dem lanyard.
Yeah.
And he likes to, so he'll call out, the first thing he'll drop, like, there's so much sleight of hand when he talks about his background. Like, he'll drop that he worked for HUD for the feds in the Clinton administration, and it's like, on housing. And if you're in Seattle, like, oh, housing's a problem, he worked on housing. Oh, okay, great. Like, so we talked about actually on the last Patreon, Henry Cisneros, the HUD secretary at the time,
San Antonio hero Henry Cisneros.
yeah, his boss. And basically, what you got to understand about HUD in the 90s is this is when, after 12 years of Republican administrations working on gutting HUD so that it could just die and go away forever, the Clinton administration came along and was like, cool, can we finish the job, please?
Oh, yeah.
So, like, what happened, it was like, they came in not knowing what they were doing, really, the Clinton administration, but eventually decided the plan was, let's try and, like, beat the Republicans on, fiscal austerity, basically, and try and, help Newt Gingrich and Grover Norquist shrink the federal government to the size it could be drowned in a bathtub. And Henry Cisneros, the Clinton Cisneros plans to, quote, reinvent HUD, Housing and Urban Development. And that basically meant, what that reinvention plan was after they saw that, they weren't going to get through any more spending through the Newt Gingrich Congress after 94. In 95, they proposed this reinvention, which was basically privatize and thus sell off, get rid of all federal public housing in America. And they went, it's like this, it's a classic sort of plan and smokescreen, convoluted, like, liberal bullshit that you're
You
familiar
just
with.
described Alex Peterson's whole campaign.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same
All I'm
kind of
hearing is
thing.
he's got experience.
it's like where, it was like, we're going to transition to public-private partnerships, and then there's going to be vouchers for people who are displaced, and then this is, we're going to pay for upgrades that then it can go out, and then the market will blah, blah, blah. And it just sounds like a bunch of complicated nonsense, the effect of which is to get it off the books, make it go away, and then let the market demolish it. And these vouchers, barely anyone was able to basically ultimately qualify for them or it's the trapped between the standards for qualifying, the tests for qualifying, and just the availability of housing at rates that you could use that voucher and make up the difference with, because they demolished all the fucking public housing.
But the market was going to provide.
Yeah, so the market.
Just as it's done here.
So that is like that's the HUD administration that he worked in. So when he says he has a background in public housing, understand that he has a background in fucking bulldozing it.
Yeah, well, he can make a public-private partnership. He can make deals.
Yeah, he is
council member deals.
Dude, he is literally council member deals. In the he's like, this is him in
Greg
his,
is pouring over his dossier
in
right
the Stranger,
now. Papers are falling everywhere.
In the Stranger interview, Natalie Graham did interview him. This is back in January where he got in. He's like, on the subject of like housing and the fact that, the other thing is he's worked fire sector, finance, and corporate real estate, international real estate firms, and he'll throw this down like, I was working on affordable housing, and fine. Not even going to look into it. What if he was? I don't give a shit. He was working for corporate finance and real estate, and I'll get to why it doesn't matter. But this is in the Stranger interview. This is what he says. I know how the numbers work. I know how to make the deals pencil. Let's look at that. Let's help you get there. That financial knowledge will really be helpful so that we can craft the right balance of policy to increase affordable housing. For example, to encourage more affordable housing to be built on site instead of built in and go into a fund. Anyway,
did they have to reboot him right there?
Right. He's basically saying like, I'm a finance guy. And I have this expertise. That's the problem, which is, this gets into the way he talks about it. He's like, this is this old conservative trope that we've talked about when it comes to public programs, which is, what's just or problems that could be solved by public problems. Well, what's just not working is the details. It's the minutia. We're losing money on the margins, and the administration of it isn't effective. There's not transparency. Yeah. And we know that's bullshit, and that's all he really has to offer. So the other thing on his resume, as we talked about, in addition to
being extremely cool.
So fire sector and lanyard, but not just lanyard for the feds. Lanyard right here in Seattle.
God bless him.
Staffer for
former city council member, Mr. Tim Burgess.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say,
allegedly.
Tim Burgess is coming into the story.
Mr. Bucks. He's like Mr. Monopoly Man of Seattle, basically.
Yeah. And also, Tim Burgess, get your hooks out of your Wikipedia page, my friend. Liberate Tim Burgess' Wikipedia page.
Brian, abort. Yeah, we love Tim Burgess.
We're big
friend
Burgess heads
of this show.
Yeah.
We have been advised by legal counsel that Tim Burgess is a friend of this show.
Yeah, he rules. Do you have any what are some Tim Burgess gems? Like, well, he's in this campaign he's got a PAC, right? Which one is his?
Case, I believe. Or is it Cape? I get the two mixed up because it's like one letter is off in my mind. It's just like, oh, they're the same.
Case is the Chamber of Commerce one.
Yeah. So he's the Case PAC, the Chamber of Commerce one. He is helping organize that one, I believe. And I think he's helping with another one too, where it's basically he's just helping funnel money into from corporations into corporate friendly candidates.
Yeah. So he was forced out of the city council
for being too cool.
For being way too cool.
He is now undead. He is
basically.
He is
a Nosferatu.
A fucking Nosferatu who will not die and go away and continues to be effective in Seattle politics.
He's created this interesting thing in Seattle politics. So if you're in Washington, right, and you go and you vote for all these terrible things and everybody in your district fucking hates you, and you end up losing the next election, it's all cool because some fucking lobbyist firm will hire you, or some, Boeing will hire you for getting them like another $2 billion to like build planes that can't fly. And fucking Tim Burgess though shows that you can do that at the local level too. Like,
Seriously.
if you become so hated as a council member that you get like thrown on your ass, that some business, now there's enough money in local politics that they'll come in and swoop in and pay you more than you ever got as a council member.
Another, some fun facts about Tim Burgess. He has something in common with Elizabeth Warren, is that he also used to be a Republican.
What? Go figure.
And
a Seattle centrist Democrat was a Republican until they decided to run for office at some point.
And he also used to
Holy
be a
shit.
Seattle police officer.
Oh,
Yeah.
So he's really hitting all the
This explains
boxes
how he
there.
got away with never mind.
Well, this explains that sanguine op-ed.
I mean,
Yeah,
just
seriously.
for,
Oh, yeah.
nothing to do with Tim Burgess or what he does in his free time. But I heard Ted Bundy actually used to roll with the Seattle PD for a little bit. So,
I've never seen them in the same room together.
Okay.
Just saying.
Okay. For real though. Okay, just a couple of more things on his sort of like greatest hits here. This is Alex Peterson. So
I'm
okay,
more of a best of guy. Can you give me the best of Tim Burgess?
I say let the people decide in the moment, and that's the record for all time. Okay, greatest hits forever. All right. So his third, and this is just fucking adorable. The third thing on his sort of I'm running for public office resume: fire sector, lanyard, and community leader. He's had a community blog for the last 3 years, which is to say he's been running for this office for the last 3 years. He literally says I think it's the Stranger interview as well, I thought about running the last time, and then I thought I wasn't ready, so I started this blog instead. And it's actually called, just to, it's not like, it's like, oh, is it Ravenna blog or like Northeast Seattle blog? No, it's called For to Explore. He's literally like designating, this is a blog for this city council district. Like, that's all. He's just, this is me running for next time.
Cool.
Alex Peterson. So some background on this. When he was an aide to Tim Burgess, he really wanted to run like 4 years ago or whenever the election was, but it wasn't his time yet. According to Tim, it was Rob Johnson, the first like boring Play-Doh white guy. And so that's
Tim is just cranking him out.
Yeah, he has that Play-Doh machine going.
he's like, oh, you got to carry around some of those bags that have just 140 pounds of mysterious weight in them.
Right?
Take them to the hole before you can run for council.
Yeah, also, the kid who just plays with white Play-Doh.
Ooh.
Weird. Real weird. That's a weird thought I had.
And his name is Alex Peterson. But no, and so he seriously has had this going, and he's really placed himself in this position of building community trust, things like that. And the way that I look at him is just honestly a wolf in sheep's clothing, a really weird, kind of creepy looking wolf. But
dude, like, put on a wolf mask, please.
You're creeping people out, Alex.
Put the head of a dog in place of your own, please.
Jesus Christ.
Immediately.
For the love of God.
Okay, so what's great about this is he now he has 3 years of a record of his thoughts
of
on
being a
every
poster?
possible fucking issue.
Hell yeah.
A record which he has deleted from his own blog.
Cool.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
But which of course is still
Lives
available.
on the internet.
And of course, one of the principal engines of this podcast, the work of Erica C. Barnett, without whose toil this would be very boring.
We have nothing to say.
No, she's done the work, so we don't have to. And because we would not, absolutely, under any circumstances. She must have read it all, or maybe she did a lot of really good keyword searches.
That's actually what I do to every Twitter account when I find it, where I just type in the account and just put Kaepernick after it. Just how I tell.
Yes. Okay, but some choice takes that she pulled out. He's basically anti-transit. He was against ST3, against Move Seattle, citing too much money for bike lanes. But as you go on to get to know Alex Peterson, you'll understand that he's against bike lanes for the wrong reasons. He's against the downtown streetcar, saying it's a superfluous waste of money. He's anti-density across the board. Not against Holla for the wrong reasons. Just for literally like financial penalties for density development of any kind. Like absolutely across the board against density.
I'm not hearing any downsides. I don't know.
Now that's he has modulated his position on this now for the purpose of this run,
right?
Which he should have thought of. You know, he should have read the tea leaves before, but he couldn't help being honest. You know, when you have to blog every day, you're just gonna have to plumb the depths of your own conservative fucking brain.
And if you're like a centrist Dem, then you can't really lie.
So, but this is where it really gets good. I'm going to jump back before I quote him from his own blog. I want to jump back to the Natalie Graham's interview in The Stranger from back when he got in January. Homelessness is something that everyone's concerned about, and it's really the number one issue. Rebuilding the trust is important so we can potentially get more resources for homelessness. City Council should be providing the mayor with the tools and oversight she needs to help to reduce homelessness and get people housed. I'm glad she's working with King County. Okay, provided with the tools. You think if you were
those
running
are cops,
for
right?
fucking...
We've learned those are cops.
Right. Well, what are they? You'd think if you were running for fucking office and you're being interviewed by one of the main papers, you'd have the tool to mention that you wanted to give to the fucking mayor.
That's the secret sauce, man. You don't give that away.
Well, he doesn't, does he?
The problem is that this is an issue that's new to the city and nobody's talked about yet.
He says
it's not a state of emergency or anything. Definitely not.
Not something you might actually have an opinion on. But one of the challenges for the mayor is that all 9 city council members have their own ideas. It would be better if we were growing in the same direction, providing oversight and that support on homelessness and sticking to those programs that have proven to work, which is obviously none of them.
Yeah, what?
What that program where we overhaul the entire economy? Go fuck yourself. So he says he just dodges there. He just says a bunch of bullshit about like getting on the same page and like tools, and he could have like said a program of this is what we should be doing. But then Erica Barnett helpfully has gone back to his blog, and this is a choice quote she pulled out of there.
Get him.
She says he wanted the city to, quote, make it clear we will prioritize housing and taxpayer-funded services for Seattle and King County residents because Seattle is branded across the country as, quote, a mecca for services and seems to be attracting homeless from around the nation.
Cool. He's the candidate of next door.
Yeah, basically. Exactly. So that says it right there. He is on that right-wing anti-homeless trip on his own fucking blog.
I was at Golden Gardens earlier today, and we were kind of like right by where the train tracks are. And I will say that, like, as the train would go by, the like cloud of hobos jumping off the train, like with their bindle sacks.
Oh yeah,
you know, it was like raining down. So maybe he's got a point.
We've talked about it before. This is the oldest trope on homelessness that there is.
I've never lived in a city where the homeless people were from that city.
Yeah,
they're always from somewhere else. It's amazing.
It's a big circuit, you know. But like, it's obviously insane. It makes no sense on its face. It's very obvious that people are gonna most people are gonna be homeless where they're at. But it's also this conservative trope. But it's also widely disproven. Like, it is patently false. Nearly everyone who is homeless is literally mostly at any given time homeless in their fucking neighborhood. Because that's where the fuck they live.
And isn't it ironic that the people who claim to be the most concerned about homelessness and pissed off about homelessness often either end up voting for candidates that are kind of like, you know,
made out of Play-Doh.
Made out of Play-Doh. And, you know, in support of these austerity politics that end up causing this cycle that exacerbates fucking homelessness. They are the problem. They're the ones that are causing these. One thing I do want to
our society's falling apart, and it's because of shitheads like this.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about how Peterson and his campaign are positioning himself as this anti-corporate candidate, that he's not taking corporate money because they're kind of splitting hairs over, these PACs are independent expenditures, which if you're not in the political world, it's basically an entity spending money for you. So they're not giving money to his campaign. They're just spending money for him.
Well, it sounds like he's clean.
So he's totally fine.
Love to live in the gray.
Right?
That rocks.
And so they say, oh yeah, he's come out against it. He's come out against these corporate PACs. I'm like, that's weird. So the only remotely negative thing that I have seen or read, heard him say about this, and I'm not trying to give him ideas that he needs to come out against them more. Please don't, Alex. Whatever. But anyways, the only thing that he has said is that the democracy voucher program really encourages candidates to get out and doorbell and meet with voters. A thing candidates should probably do. And then he says, Peterson said, even if outside groups fund negative ads later in the campaign, voters will remember his efforts. Quote, they'll care more about that than some hit piece they get in the mail later from a special interest group. So this came out, let's see when this came out. This came out May 2nd. At that point, there had been no negative ads that came out.
His former boss had yet to run.
Yeah, so I'm just like...
against people in his district.
That is the most negative thing he has said about corporate money.
Right. But look, and who cares? Like, obviously he has to position himself. If you're a spineless, like,
Plato man,
ideologically empty centrist Dem, you don't actually give a shit about anything.
No.
You have to, what you do, what you've been trained to do, what you were recruited in the Democratic Party because you could wrap your head around, which not everybody can, is that your only politics are relative, okay?
Yeah, right.
They are based on triangulation. So he is in the race with a fucking communist, okay? Like, he's like a fucking red is running against him. Mm-hmm. So he is going to have
Maoist, Sean Scott.
He is going to have to cover his flanks there, okay?
Oh, sure.
So... But it's ludicrous, like you say. Like, they're spending money for him. The question is not whether he asked them to or even is coordinating. It's that they want to.
Exactly, and that's what it comes down to.
The chamber wants this guy.
Another funny thing. So, Seattle DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, endorsed Sean Scott. The other DSA, the Downtown Seattle Association, which we often get mistaken for.
Maddie, are you in charge of that organization as well?
I am, and we gave
Alex
gave Alex Peterson an 85% rating. So
hell yeah, and not even in the district.
DSA playing both sides.
I know,
but
the tale of two DSAs.
But any candidate for any party other than not even Trump did it too, but they're always going to deny the corporate money because everybody understands that's a definite finger on the scale and that it's bullshit. But the question is, are they actually using it, right? And Alex,
yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Well, they'll always say, "Well, I'm against corporate money." It's like, that's not really the issue. The issue is you are known to be the better candidate for business interests. Great. And honestly, in this race, that's not saying much.
No.
Which is cool.
No. Yeah.
It's cool that is the case, but still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we talk about what sets different candidates apart. And I think the Police Officers Guild is the perfect issue to kind of show what does set them apart. And what it comes down to is, how do candidates have the range, and how do you know they have the range to actually vote for certain things when it matters? And the Police Officers Guild, again, is the perfect example. I think it was in January a contract came up for a vote on the city council, which it was the Seattle Police Officers Guild contract, and one of the central pieces of this contract rolled back police accountability, federally mandated police accountability, part of the consent decree, and Emily Myers was among one of the city council candidates, asked numerous times whether or not she would have supported this. And she said, I would have, but I would have found a way to not roll back police accountability, which is...
So then you wouldn't have
I would have
supported
found
it?
the perfect solution if it were me.
The perfect blend.
I would have done the thing you want.
Another perfect blend candidate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's important, and I think, you know, Sean was right to point out that, like, you do have to have the range. And I think, you know, bringing up the MLK Labor Council, one of the things, you know, the labor community is great. Obviously, we need more union power. We need more labor power. That's one of the central issues that the DSA is currently working on, actually. But here in Seattle, one of the unique things about the Labor Council here is that they very much welcome police unions with open arms. They held a rally in support of the police officers' contract. And so when you see certain progressive and leftist candidates not getting endorsements from the MLK Labor Council, that's why. One of the reasons why Shama Sawant didn't get an endorsement from the MLK Labor Council is because she was one of, if not the only, council member at the time to vote against it. And Sean has been adamantly opposed to the Police Officers Guild and to that contract. And the MLK Labor Council recently came out with another slate of endorsements after the primary. They endorsed Tammy Morales, but not Sean Scott.
Wow.
Tammy is not, you know, of course, super hot about police and, you know, police contracts, but she definitely hasn't drawn as fine of a line in the sand as Sean, saying, like, I am in District 4. This is where Charlene Lyles was killed. This is a hardline stance that I'm taking, and I'm not going to waffle on this. I'm not going to compromise. And really that's what it comes down to, is finding candidates that aren't going to compromise when it really matters. And that vote really mattered, because now we're at a point where Judge Robart, I think it is saying, oh, guess what, guys? That contract, it did actually roll back police accountability. You are in violation of it, so you have to revisit that. By the way, just as an aside, Jenny Durkin, if you didn't hear, said, oh, police accountability, that can wait. We're going to just put that off for a few months.
Yeah.
So that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, it's a bad scene.
So we have human thumb Alex Peterson.
Yes.
Well,
He's a pinky.
Pinky.
Who was completely absent at Candidate Survivor. What was that, 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Which Sean won, right?
Which Sean Scott did win.
With stand-up.
Yes.
Yeah. It was actually pretty funny, and like, you know, proving once again that people on the left are actually funny. People on the right try to read poetry or something to music and can't get it going.
You know,
Heidi Wills.
some people, that's what some people do. They use these political campaigns to launch
entertainment
media careers. Right?
Yeah,
Like that's
exactly.
I hate to say it. Maybe that's what Sean's doing. He's really just in this to
This is a
get
grift.
his
Heidi
stand-up
Wills for
career.
a second.
Heidi Wills is gonna get into like some like long form poetry now, all about how much she loves white supremacist suffragettes.
Well, she has like a performance aspect to it too. It's very like a Maria Abramovitz kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah.
In that, what, like the audience was so uncomfortable, or
having to stare at her. Well, the funny part is that there needed to be some sort of intervention at this event. Doing trivia is not a talent.
Oh
Like,
no,
you're not
Lisa
a big-
Herbold.
Who was that?
Lisa
There was
Herbold.
like 3 of them that were doing it. I felt like,
There was actually a lot of trivia. Lisa Herbold, though, her like talent was basically Seattle Jeopardy. So she was answering all of the questions she prepared, and
That's
she
just
also
pandering.
she won Best Talent also. So that was
Wait,
That
what?
is.
that was the biggest
That's
controversy.
some quiz
of the
show
night,
shit
honestly.
right
Yeah.
No, that's going into the Oscars with
That
a
is
fucking
some-
movie about Hollywood. Like that's
Right?
some
Like-
real horse shit. dude.
That is
Yeah.
some serious pandering right there.
Yeah.
God-awful.
That sounds awful. Honestly, that that whole event sounds awful.
Oh,
That
yeah.
sounds like my idea of. I mean,
No
honestly,
disrespect to the Washington Best.
Yeah, if you can't throw things at the council members, You should be able to throw. It should be like an old timey show where you throw lettuce on.
Yeah, like real vaudeville shit. I don't want to see anyone running for public office trying to entertain me in any way because it's just going to be real gross looking.
To be honest, this event, Candidate Survivor, used to be kind of cool because it really made candidates take hardline stances on things. Like you had to be yes or no about taxes
about
and like
spoken
really word. About spoken word. Yes, but the way they did it this year, it was just like it really allowed people to kind of waffle. Where Egan Orion, where they were talking about the head tax, it was one of those things where if you were for it, you went to the right of the stage. If you were against it, you went to the left, and he just kind of stood in the middle the entire time. It's like, bitch, you've taken the most money from Amazon.
What if he was having just having an aneurysm?
He's like, oh no, they're here and watching me. But it was funny because later in the night they had constituents come up and ask very pointed questions, and his constituent was like, hey, what is your favorite progressive tax? And he was just like, well, I know that wealth taxes are like against the law in Seattle right now, but a wealth tax. So his favorite progressive tax is the one that is not viable right now. Yeah. So hats off to you, Egan. I hope you lose.
Let's give him a chance to walk that back.
What was his talent? Is he like able to do the modem noise and dial into the
I think he did close-up magic. Wasn't he the close-up magic guy?
His
that's cool. Actually,
his talent was so weird. He
was Blue Man Group.
He sang the fucking famous Nina Simone song that I'm like forgetting, "Feeling Good," which is like very that tracks for Egan because it's so self-centered. It's like about me. I'm feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like not us. Me. It's about me.
You are many, I am me.
Yeah. Yep. And that's Egan Orion's campaign because he has no volunteers.
That fucking class. That sounds cool.
Yeah, another great candidate.
Yeah, I was there heckling a lot and did not have a voice the next day.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
It was good.
Yeah. Were they checking for rotten fruit at the door?
Yes, and they did take mine. And our favorite local really weird Nazi city council heckler, Alex Zimmerman, who shows up to every city council adjacent event, was definitely there.
Wait, which guy is this one?
He's the true patriot who got mocked by...
He's the guy you model your life after?
Yeah, he was horrifically disrespected.
Yeah, by the
down.
Council. Yeah.
It was weird this time. He showed up with a giant Star of David. I'm like, okay,
wow.
you're
That's
switching it up today. Cool. Goodbye.
Yeah. That's kind of curious where that was going.
Yeah, I didn't stick around to find out. I'm not sure if he knew where it was going either. So it's a pleasure to see him.
Sounds like it was going to own the libs.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was his district again? Was he...
Alex Zimmerman? I don't even know if he was in Seattle.
Oh, well, he was running.
D5 actually,
D5?
I think.
Okay.
D5, yeah, because he especially hates Deborah Juarez.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, well, and I think he thought that because when that Seattle's Dying thing came out, he was getting all this love from around the country, and I think he thought that translated to anybody here giving a shit about him, which is kind of like the Ari thing too, of realizing that your support is entirely.
Sure.
Well, look at Christopher Rufo, like a rat that climbs out of your toilet. It's just fucking amazing seeing that guy.
Yeah, that is really
incredible.
Funny.
He's proof of meritocracy.
Yeah, definitely. Did you see that op-ed that came out,
Oh,
attacking
yeah.
his op-ed? That was chef's kiss perfect.
Yeah, that rocked.
Amazing.
I feel like it's all over the country now with the internet and the way, subcultures can just really get involved in things. There's all these really, crazy right-wing candidates like Christopher Rufo, like Ari Hoffman, who can generate buzz because they can generate this national following that makes it feel like there's something going on, but it turns out it's all the same million people across the country who are into it's all literally the same people.
Yeah.
They only all live in one fucking, municipality or one voting district for
Yeah.
anything. Like, but they're just spread out across the country. It's all the same people.
Right.
And they can't all run for city council of Plano. But yeah, yeah, I mean, But so at the talent show, obviously, Sean was the only funny one, the only one with any talent. Everybody else trash.
Purposely funny, anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
everybody
the only
else
one that
absolute
wasn't
trash.
like pure cringe.
Yeah, except for the guy who was doing close-up magic.
Cool, actually cool.
obviously.
I want to know who
Yeah,
that
and
guy
then
is so I
you-
can move to his district and vote for that
You have
person.
Dan Strauss and Andrew Lewis, who I still can't really distinguish.
Yeah.
They're pretty much the same person. Speaking of like Play-Doh men,
Did they do the Marx Brothers routine
Yes.
with the
Yes.
mirror?
one of them was very drunk. I think it was Dan Strauss.
That's actually a boss move.
Um,
like that.
Dan Strauss.
Is that
There's
Andrew
like
Lewis is the
six.
sixth,
Yeah,
right?
six.
They're both
and-
in the sixth?
No, Andrew
Dan-
Lewis is
It's the seventh. So
yeah,
it's
they're 6 and 7.
Jim Fistfight and Andrew Lewis.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, Officer Jim Fistfight. That's what he's called now.
Jesus.
That's what his name means. Okay. Cool. All right.
Yeah, so one of them did the close-up magic, which went horribly. Like, he did it with a constituent, but at the time he did not know it was his constituent. At the very end, the magic tricks were going wrong, and she's just like, by the way, I live in your district, and like pans over to the crowd like it's the fucking Office.
Yeah.
And like just terrible. And then Andrew Lewis, like, because he's Ballard Paperboy or whatever, or maybe that's Dan Strauss, again, same person. Like, his talent was getting into a competition with one of his constituents, and the talent competition was throwing newspapers into boxes, and he had this weird setup that looked like I know.
No.
This is really
Roll
long.
paper cornhole.
It was like yes, it was. That is the best description. It was like role playing cornhole, and the role playing was like his brick house from his childhood home in Ballard. It was like a high school like drama like theater department like made
Like a
all of this
one-man
shit.
show.
Yeah, and like they like carried in like this set.
What? No.
It was
What?
fucking
Holy
bizarre.
shit.
I had all these neighbors, and they were like, Dan Strauss.
Okay, you
throw
really
those
had
papers."
to reach for a talent.
Yeah, holy shit. There's like
you
a
don't have
there's
one.
like a equivalent
And
of
that's
a
fine.
writer's
You
room,
shouldn't.
you know?
Just
Like-
get a yo-yo or something, man. Like
Full
get
of
a fucking
smoke.
recorder. Like at least make fun of
yeah,
yourself.
do
like
something.
Yeah.
That's like I'm not a human being. I don't,
Type-
you know, like
What is my talent?
Impress us with
It's
your
collecting
typing
ears.
speed.
You can't do that on stage, Dan.
and then
I make these lamps.
yeah.
Okay, that,
Mr. Geen.
We can go back and look at the archives for Tim Burgess's entries later. Okay.
Yeah, he's a magician. He takes local women and makes
Yeah,
them
that just
disappear.
sounds so awkward though.
The talent portion was
Like painfully awkward.
painfully awkward.
Yeah.
Tammy Morales sang a beautiful song. That was a nice like reprieve from everything.
That sounds like a
although-
good bet. Even if you can't sing,
Just
have fun with that because it's a normal. It's like singing is a normal talent.
Oh,
You
and
didn't
she
have
was
to- if
she
you
was
had to
brave.
think
She
hard
did it a
about it-
cappella. Like she
sounds
was
great.
great. She was great.
But even
See,
if it
I
sucked,
personally
it's like,
resent people who can sing well, though. Like,
Yeah,
so I would have been off the page.
I was a little bitter. I was like, Tammy,
Yeah,
Like,
Is there
when people are
anything
good
you
at
can't
karaoke, I get so mad.
but here's what you
I'm like,
avoid
fuck you.
when you just go up and sing.
Yeah.
Anything
You still
else,
look like a normal person.
Right. Because
Right?
anything else,
you're
all
not
this
throwing
other shit,
newspapers into like a fake cornhole house setup.
Yeah.
anything else, everyone in the audience is sitting here working through their mind the like arcane process
Oh, yeah.
that you went through to come up with this idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a disturbing trip
Yeah.
through your psyche.
because that's not the first one you come up with.
No,
either.
no. If you
No.
had to have like a brainstorming session,
Yeah.
Yes.
you like and come up with this weird shit, then people like know that when they see you doing it, and that's just creepy.
So they're like, I'm really good at Excel.
No, see that's at least an honest talent.
Look
right?
up this
Like,
fucking VLOOKUP, bro. Yeah.
Well, I should add Sean. I mean,
I'm really bad at Excel.
When Sean does this again, he should just come on and do like an avant-garde.
Oh yeah, he's gonna bring a harp on.
No, like
Like-
the guitar one where he just like is like, I play guitar, but he keeps getting the note wrong. But he's like, hold on,
Yes.
hold on, guys, hold on.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, and then just do it for like the time period.
That's
10
his like
minutes.
whole bit.
Yeah, just over and over again, but never reveal that it's.
Well, I mean, like for a second, we all thought Heidi Wills was joking because she came out in like a Futures female shirt.
Yeah.
And like her talent was saying, like reciting a Susan B. Anthony speech with a Lizzo song playing in the background. And then a slideshow of famous women throughout history with a lot of black and other women of color peppered in.
Yeah.
And she got so much heckling she had to restart and was like very disturbed by the heckling. She's like, I'm so sorry. Thank you for your kindness.
Well, the
a lot of
video-
Marianne Williamson vibes going on,
yeah.
but without the charm of Marianne
sure, yeah,
Williamson.
yeah.
Someone once recited the phrase to me like, she's pretty creepy, but she has her charms. Heidi Willis, just the creeps,
Yeah,
no charms.
Right there, if you had to make your talent a multimedia presentation,
No.
you
Yeah.
don't have a talent,
Yeah.
and you spent too much time on this, and we know that now. So,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
well,
thank
her
you,
things-
Leslie Nope.
Yeah, well, they
no,
had. Well, that was the
That
thing.
is who she thinks she is.
Because
Like,
they had
she's- yeah.
the video on Twitter, and the
Oh,
first thing I
yeah.
thought is I was like, "Oh, this is like some comedy Bang Bang like Largo
Right.
shit from like the early aughts." That somebody would be doing like as a joke, like on stage, like very straight face. Like, yeah, that Amy Poehler would be doing on stage in like 1998,
Right.
in LA. Yeah,
And unfortunately not.
yeah.
wow. Wow, that's
yeah.
fucking dark.
Holy
Okay,
shit.
so rules, like actual things you can do. Honestly, better to be honest. Like the Excel thing would be a hit if
Flip
you
a
could
coin.
show like some really quick like.
Get an
yes.
abacus.
Yeah, no, seriously, yeah. But these aren't people with like normal brains and
No.
things. They're weird freaks. And they've been revealed. Maybe that's the use of a thing like this. Like
It does.
give someone, you
it
know
does
what?
shine a light on that.
When
yeah.
you give someone a really open-ended question, you get to see inside their insane
Yes.
freak brain.
Yes.
And that is what's your talent? Show us your talent. Walk us through your freak mind.
God.
So
Mind
actually,
freak.
I'm now.
Chris Angel.
You've walked
Again,
yourself
Candidate
back
survivor.
around.
Let's
mind
save
freak.
it for the Tim Burgess episode, please. Okay, I'm now in favor of this talent show thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad we got something accomplished.
Seattle Sucks talent show.
Oh, yeah, from the
coming to a bar near you soon.
Wow.
That
Wow.
killed Greg.
Wow. That is a pitch, Maddie.
Yeah.
That sounds like a hit.
Yeah.
That's our first live thing. Is going to be the Seattle
show.
Sucks
Yeah,
talent show.
if we do a live thing, we have to do that now. For sure.
Yeah, that's what it'll be called.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so just to get us back, I want to sum up with just to hit Alex Peterson more time. Basically, all he talks about is trust, accountability, and transparency, which,
Cool.
as we discuss a lot on this podcast, are meaningless things used to obfuscate austerity. Right? It's,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's just management speak.
it is.
I mean,
It's
that's
just
like
bullshit
yeah.
management speak.
These
the
are the
problems are in
pillars
the
of our
details. We just
corporation.
need to figure out the things and
Vapid.
get in the same room.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And there's another element to it. As we'll see here, he says, it's also in The Stranger, the biggest issue is rebuilding the trust between City Hall and the residents of Northeast Seattle. And rebuilding that trust
It's
means
Laurel Horse.
providing more accountability. I don't know what that means, but that's what he's saying. I mean,
He wants to rebuild the trust of Laura Horse by making the homeless more accountable to the
yeah,
police.
yeah, right. It could mean it could
Yeah,
be
yeah.
anything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
yeah,
important.
it's a dog whistle. You hear what you want to hear.
Exactly.
also.
Well, he has to say nothing.
Yeah. Right.
And he says, I mean, being more responsive to residents and small businesses, he has to throw that in there, and being more transparent in what's coming out of City Hall and using input from residents. I think that's a top issue that goes blah, blah, blah.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, the thing is, he's talking about transparency, and yet from what he talks about, you have no fucking idea what he actually believes.
Yeah.
There's nothing fucking transparent about that. The way he talks about this, he says the biggest issue is rebuilding trust between City Hall and the residents of North Seattle. What he's talking about is a PR problem.
Right.
What he's saying that the problem our city has in addressing its issues is a PR problem where people are pissed off at the mayor and the city council because they're not doing things. And what we need to do is address that PR problem so that people feel they trust their civic leaders more and will shut the fuck up while they continue to managerially run us into the
basically the
fucking
America
end
is
times.
already great.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And you just need
that
to
one in 2016.
and so we need to go through some motions that convince people to trust us. And the transparency thing, I think, is really emblematic because he's full of shit. He's not transparent about anything. Like I said, you could apply this to anything. He could apply him saying like he knows the numbers and his financial expertise to him, more effectively persecuting homeless people. Like he's not saying
I don't
otherwise.
know if he could do a better job than Durkin
On
that, honestly.
the other hand,
Speaking of the goat.
Sean Scott and candidates like him are transparent about, and Sean Scott is very transparent about exactly the things he wants to do, and even farther about his entire view of the world, his analysis of why we have the problems we have, not just what they are, and they're not just some managerial horseshit. That's transparency, and that is why you can have trust. We could have a system where people trust candidates and elected officials because they actually had worldviews that they were willing to talk about because they were they didn't sound like horseshit or patently evil, and actually appealed to people because they are right and true and good. So that, to me, is at least an angle to talk about when you hear Peterson talk this transparency shit. Is like you have no way of knowing except by his resume what the fuck he believes in. Whereas Sean Scott, on the other hand, is very easy to know exactly what the fuck he believes.
Well, and because politics are open, you could even venture a guess if a new issue comes up about where he'd be on it, right? So, yeah, which is the positive. And I mean,
and you can't do that with a Democrat.
Yeah.
You cannot.
Which is
because
why
there's a triangulation coming.
Yeah.
They could end up on after the fucking bones are thrown.
Yeah, right.
And the consultants paid off. They could end up with any mealy mouth equivocation on fucking anything, or they could just have the most right wing position. There's just no way of knowing because they won't tell you what their real beliefs are.
Who do you want? Someone who is accountable to people, a movement they're building, collective power, or do you want someone who is accountable to the consultant class, Amazon money, PACs that don't have these spending limits, things of that nature? Someone who is putting out really vague plans with vapid nonsense, and that's Alex Peterson, or insert whatever name here that Seattle's so used to. The Kshama Sawants, the Sean Scotts, they are about movements. And when you're more based in ideology, when you're more based in ideas that are, more material with more material analysis, you're not left guessing. You're not in the dark.
It's not like who gave them money this morning.
Right? Well, and it could be who gave them democracy vouchers, which are good things. And of course, Alex Peterson is taking democracy vouchers, but he has all of this corporate, PAC money too. And it's not to circle back to that yet again, but it's important to, take that into consideration with how is he crafting these plans for homelessness? Of course, he's getting, input from those organizations or consultants, etc. And you're exactly right with the triangulation nonsense is that you really don't know what you are going to end up with. And I think that's why ultimately Plato's kind of a good metaphor, is that it's just constantly kind of forming and reforming into whatever image the corporate class in Seattle wants him to look like and serve.
It can take any shape. You just know in the end it's going to smell weird.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And I mean, the thing about Sean Scott having an organization behind him is actually really important. During the previous vote, during the primary, there was all the stuff about Emily Myers, and like they tried to do the usual like Bernie Warren thing of like, her and Sean Scott are basically the same thing, so just go with Myers, and even if that were true, which it wasn't, the issue is like at this point when you think about politics, when Alex Pearson gets into office, it's not just going to be him in city council. It's him with Jeff Bezos and Jeff Bezos' money, right? And so it's like, if you want somebody in office, it can't just be that person. You need an actual like political organization like with them who is going to, force the issue, right? Because they'll be there with, 7 aggressively anti-council members and a mayor who wants to kill everything. Yeah. And, if it's just them in the room, it's not going to work.
All right. Well, Maddie, thank you so much for being here. It was awesome to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was a real
It's been
pleasure.
wonderful.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming. This is fun.
I am the captain now.
You are, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all the captain.
We are, except Greg.
Except Greg, yeah.
Except Greg.
And thanks for coming on. Also,
turn out this way.
Also, listeners, support Sean Scott if you're in the U District. If you're not in the U District, vote there anyways.
It's a lot bigger than the U District.
You got
It's
Eastlake,
4.
Wallingford.
If you're not
Oxford.
in District 4, go to District 4. Pretend like you're in District 4. Vote there anyways.
Door knock, phone bank.
Yes.
If you need
All those things.
to phone bank, if you want those resources, find me on Twitter. I'm always posting about it. Always be posting.
There you go.
Yeah, was there anything else that you
Words
wanted
slip
to plug or mention?
Come to DSA meetings if you're interested in becoming a card-carrying socialist every first Tuesday of every month. And really, we need to secure another win for Sean this November. So
Hell yeah.
phone banking, door knocking, tabling, whatever you're able to do, we would love to have you.
Awesome. Well, thank
Cool.
you again so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And thank you, live studio audience. You've been fantastic.
So good. Thank you.
All right. We have nothing else to say, I think. So until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
We'll have another